15, cuts left at the 20, on some room at the 30, headed to the near sideline, one man to beat, makes the move at midfield, coming to the near side at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, 5, touchdown, Kentucky!
And we are back in here for another episode of Believe in Kentucky. How is everybody doing?
Oh, I thought we were talking to the audience. I'm doing pretty well. Doing probably better than the folks over in the football building are, even maybe the basketball building after the little bit of a scare there on Monday night. But I'm doing just fine.
Aaron Gershon, Jalen Whitlow got a little noisy background. I don't know if it's a vent or a fan or something. Or
I don't know. Well, now we lost Jay.
There we go. But yeah, we got.
We're off to a hot start.
Aaron Gershon from the Cat's Paws, Jalen Whitlow, former UK quarterback, will be right back. I don't know if it was a little background or I don't know if I got my phones turned up. I don't hear it now.
It might have been on his end. That might be what happened
might have been why he hopped off. But we'll bring Jalen Whitlow back in here.
There he is.
Jalen Whitlow's back.
Y'all got it?
Yeah. The season has flown by, fellas. Appreciate everybody that's watching us on the live stream. Sorry we got off to a little shaky start. But we're on the YouTube, we're on Facebook Live, we're on Twitter Live.
We're just trying to fit in with Kentucky athletics. That's all.
Game 12 is Saturday. We'll talk football and basketball, but it's game number 12, sitting at 6-5, not where we thought we'd be at this point in time. Coming off of that gut punch to South Carolina. You were in the building, Aaron. We all watched it. We all saw it. And, it's been basketball games played more recently, but let's go and get to the football game first. Got the rivalry game with Louisville coming as well. We'll hit it all like we do, and appreciate y'all listening along the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a tough one out in Columbia, to say the least. It was an ugly football game. I think that's the first thing that needs to be said. It wasn't like South Carolina came out. I mean, I think going into the game, the way you saw a path for South Carolina was, okay, Kentucky's pass defense has been pretty bad consistently since the Georgia game. Spencer Rattler is another really good quarterback. We all know how good Xavier Legette, probably the second best receiver in the SEC behind Malik Neighbors this year. So you could see maybe that, South Carolina was just going to put too many points on the board for Kentucky. But no, Kentucky's defense, outside of some unacceptable third and long conversions and the 2 touchdowns to Legette that he just cooked Andrew Phillips on. The defense had a pretty good day. I mean, Deion Walker was he's played a lot of good games in 2 years. That was probably his best game yet. I know it was his career high in tackles. He had a sack. He was just absolutely eating alive a really weak interior of that South Carolina offensive line. So the defense did some pretty good things all night outside of 2 drives, really. Even getting a goal line stop and forcing a field goal early kind of flipped the momentum for a little bit. So, you can't, other than the long third downs, you can't really punish the defense too much. It's really the main thing that cost this team last year. It's cost this team this year. It was something we thought would at least be better this year. And it's the offense, man. They do not score enough points. They'll show flash this year, unlike last year. They'll show flashes of the talent they have on that side of the ball. They'll have some big plays. They'll have some explosive runs. The Ray Davis run where he juked a guy out of his shoes with the spin move. I mean, that was one of the prettier plays this offense has had all season. But so many just awful drives where they're behind the chains and have no chance. 3 turnovers, 2. I mean, the Dane Key one, that's a tough one. You kind of have to give some credit to Kilgore. I believe that's Jalen Kilgore's the one who knocked it out there. That's a tough break, but the strip sack, Leary holds onto that ball for far too long. The pick in the end zone can't happen. And just offense kicking themselves in the foot, penalties, you name it. That's what cost them this game. You can't score 14 points and expect to win on the SEC in the SEC, especially on the road. And that's what happened. And this team is staring their worst take away 2020. This would be, if they lose this game Saturday, their worst regular season since 2015. I mean, that's a major indictment right there.
Yeah, kind of everything you said, man. I think from a defensive standpoint, you hold a team to 17 points, you expect to win.
Yep.
You know, and I'm gonna just be real, man. And you heard Liam Cohen say it the other day, yesterday, I think it was. At some point, your dudes got to be dudes. At some point, your dudes got to make plays. The fumble, guys fading away in their route when they're supposed to be getting negative in their out route to cut the defender off from undercutting the ball. Just little stuff like that. At some point, your best players got to be your best players. Your best players got to be able to – the offensive scheme is good enough for your best players to manufacture you more than 14 points against South Carolina, period. I don't know what it is. You know, again, Liam Cohen alluded to it yesterday. It's definitely has to be a leadership issue. It's something that's intangible. We know that. It's not tangible. They have talents. They have a quarterback who's you know, probably not having the season that he wanted to have, but he's still pretty good in my opinion. He makes enough throws. He makes enough plays. You know, they have receivers who, at least on paper, should be playing well. Offensive line should be, you know, doing their thing. Running back is really good. So tight end room is solid. So yeah. I think, you know, I think that at some point your players got to make plays, man. You know, they got to make plays. Now, on the flip side of that, Liam Cohen also alluded to, he alluded to a lot of things yesterday, but he also alluded to that they have to look into playing with some tempo, playing with more pace this offseason. And guys, y'all know this. It's going to help everybody out. Players like it more. Your quarterback, that's the type of guy he is, even though he's leaving. Quarterbacks like it even more. The NFL is going to that type of style too. Most teams are starting to play faster and mix the tempo up. Receivers get up more opportunities when you're playing faster, but you got to stay on the field. You got to convert on third downs. But when you start to play fast, you start to get guys more touches. You start to get more snaps. You keep the defense off the field in a lot of cases if you're converting. You know, and it's more exciting for fans. If I'm that fan that's on the ropes, if I'm on the line, do I want to go to the game this Saturday? Should I not go to the game this Saturday? Hell yeah, I'm going to go to the game when the offense is exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think, you know, like I said, Liam Cohen alluded to the things that I was even thinking about. Like, there has to be more pace. There must be some lack of leadership, some lack of accountability. I mean, what Barry Brown did on a couple of his routes, I mean, that's stuff we tell our 8th graders not to do. I mean, that's. Look, I'm talking like this is real. This is stuff. This is stuff that we have to coach out of our rising 9th graders. Hey, you cannot fade away on the outbreaking route. You can't do it, right? Because for that reason, for guys being able to undercut, you cannot do that. You hang your quarterback out to dry in that situation. So that's just a lack of discipline, you know, in my opinion. So again, this is no shot at anybody, but the talent is there. They just got to produce, right? And you're going to get your opportunity to produce on Saturday against a good Louisville team, and they're going to have to produce to win this game on offense. I think Kentucky's defense will do a good job, as almost what they always do, but I think Kentucky's offense got to score 30 points to win this football game, and that's just what it's going to be. So, you know, they got to get their dude activity out of their dudes, you know, is what I would say, and they got to get it fast.
So the 2 drives you're talking about defensively, are you talking about the first drive and the last drive for them, or the first 2 drives for them?
That didn't go well?
Yeah, that you kind of fought the defense for.
Yeah, the first drive of the game, opening drive, and then the last one that they scored on. The last one that they scored on, I'll give them credit for the one they held them to 3, because at least you had the pass. You had the pass. It was a terrible matchup where you had De'Aaron Jackson and Xavier Legette in the end zone, and somehow D-Jack was able to punch that ball away before it got to Legette. So I'll give him credit there. But yeah, man, I mean, I think they only converted 5 third downs, but they were all 3rd and 7 or longer. And on that, I mean, they had a third. I think it was a 3rd and 10 and a 3rd and 11 on that first drive that they scored the touchdown, and then the backbreaker, man. 3 different plays on that last scoring drive where in the 4th quarter you have a 3rd and 18, I believe, and they hit, I think it was Legette in the middle of the field. I forget if it was Legette or Nick Harbor on that one. Hit him in the middle of the field, big play, gets him near midfield. Then you get South Carolina moves into the red zone, and they're called for an illegal blindside block.
Yes.
And you get them down to 2nd and 27.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, worst thing that happens here is that it's a field goal to 1 point game. And then, you risk giving the ball back to Carolina and the field goal wins this thing. But at least you have the lead. 2nd and 27, they get like 15 or something back on a little check down that Leggett is able to break a tackle and turn into a positive game. Actually, you got 17 back. I'm looking to here. So it's 3rd and 10. And what happens on 3rd and 10? Andrew Phillips and Leggett are one-on-one. Phillips is having a rough year. Leggett's having an amazing year. Leggett wins that one-on-one, and South Carolina scores with 7:44 left, and then you lose the game. But, obviously the 3rd and longs are unacceptable. That was a big reason why Kentucky did lose. But with that said, Kentucky's offense still got 3 more chances.
Yeah, no
3.
doubt. Mm-hmm.
And including – when they got the ball at midfield, I think a little over 2 minutes left, 2 timeouts, it was like, okay, just get 20 yards, and you feel pretty good with the way Alex Rayner's been this year. Get 20 yards. First play, Larry holds onto the ball forever, and he gets stripped. Sack, Carolina gets it back. You still get the ball back with a minute, but by then you're out of timeouts, and what confidence do you really have in this offense to get into field goal range there without any timeouts and the way they were struggling all night? So just a pitiful offensive performance. Like, you definitely have to – some blame's got to go on the defense for those 3rd and longs, but like Jalen said, man, you give up only 17 in an SEC contest, really any contest. You feel like you should be able to put enough points on the board where you win that game, but the way Kentucky's offense has been the last 2 seasons – especially kind of these last couple of weeks here this season, it just wasn't in the cards. And I think that was a game that really, like, it was just so winnable because of the missed opportunities, because South Carolina is not very good. And, that's why you heard on the post-game radio show, you heard Stoops in his post-game press conference, he was just dejected and down. And that's just a tough one to swallow. You can forgive losing to Alabama. You can forgive losing to Georgia. Missouri this year, you can definitely forgive. Tennessee, you had your opportunities. They own you, whatever. But at least win the games you're supposed to win. And this was a game they were supposed to win, and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. 2 years in a row for them. Well,
yes.
And this, first time that they've won a couple in the series, but it's kind of been anomalies. Lynn Bowden, Kentucky hadn't got Lynn Bowden going when they won with Sawyer Smith. And then last year, Levis is hurt. So it's kind of like a win. It was a win for them, but we were putting asterisk on those wins for them because it was some unique circumstances. Now you're full strength heading down there, as full strength can be 10 weeks into a season. You got your full complement. It's not a fluky quarterback situation. It's not like you got to go wildcat and you got to scrap your offense philosophy due to injuries. None of that was on the table this year. I think I told y'all last week that I was going to be in Columbia, and we're down there for the day. Our niece is more like a daughter. It's kind of halfway. They're outside of Savannah, so Columbia's about halfway. We met them, spent the day. Got her little 2-year-old son, her and her husband and a little boy. So we met them, had lunch there downtown Columbia, and then went to the arcade, went to the back cages, did fun stuff for the little boy and my kids and all that kind of stuff. Thought about, let's go look at ticket. Let's go grab a ticket, and glad I didn't after having to sit through what we saw. So on the way home, I'm listening to Tom Leach and Jeff Piccolo all the way home, and then watched it the next day. But as I'm listening, you keep wondering. Not a lot of Ray Davis. You're hearing Ramon Jefferson. Yeah. You're hearing that, and I'm like, where's Ray Davis at? And then, your boy Jeremy Jarman was doing sideline in place of Dick Gabriel, Jalen. Yep. And he said, Ray Davis is okay. He's up here at the 40-yard line just talking with the coaching staff. I'm like, what is going on with that? And so this is just weird. You're visualizing what you're hearing. And then I go back and listen. I'm going to go back and watch it, the next day. And even on the 31-yard run, you're there, Aaron, the spin move. When he hits pay dirt, it was very subdued. Wasn't a lot of, to me, exuberance or happiness on his end. The body language, I'm just getting what I'm seeing from the TV copy. Compared to the 3 he had against Florida, and that's a home game, and you find the crowd up, but he wasn't shushing the Carolina crowd. He wasn't none of that. it was just look. It was almost kind of like Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders score, get the ball to the ref, go to the sideline. That's what he did for 10 years. Ray showed a little more juice than that when he scored. And when he scored on that 31-yarder, and I was like, he's just kind of not really into it, is what I thought. So I just want to get y'all's thoughts. And then we saw the tweet that got deleted. But y'all's thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, man. That's when I started watching again. That's the first thing I asked, like, what's going on with this? I mean, because you can see it in his body. You could just see it in his body language, man. Like, we don't know what happened. We may not ever know what happened. Something's going on with that. People not stupid. Something's going on. Something's different. And whatever it is loud. As quiet as it is, it's very, very loud. Because we see it. So I don't know, man. Like, and we talked about this a few episodes ago, that there's something that we don't know about that's going on in that building. Has to be. It just something don't feel right. When you're watching a typical, Stoops team that has good talent, that has been, I don't feel like this is it. Like I don't feel like something's not right. I don't know exactly what it is, but everything's not connecting the way it should, and it shows in the play and it shows in the body language.
Yeah, I think with Ray, I mean, I do look. I know he's been your best player all year, but they have not had great production in the run game since. Man, when was the last time they really ran the ball that well? Like, it's been a little bit now since they've struggled. I think the Tennessee games would kind of started a slump in the run game. So I guess it would have been Missouri was the last time when Davis had a really good start, at least in the first half. So you take out that run from Ray Davis. So he had 12 carries. You take out that run, and he was averaging 2.7 yards a carry. So it's not like, he's just – I think they were just looking for some juice. Ramon Jefferson had the big run at the end of the game last week. Apparently, he's been doing some really good stuff in practice. Jatan McClain got hurt. Dirty play down in Starkville where they grabbed him by the neck. It gave Jefferson a chance. He's a seventh-year guy. They found some juice there, and they got him more involved. Remember, going into the year, the plan was kind of to be by committee, but Ray kind of took that job and ran with it, But so I didn't think it was like anything malicious on the Kentucky staff's part. They're struggling offensively. What do you do? It'd be the definition of insanity to continue to try the same thing, even though like the deep shots is kind of insanity, but we'll get to that later, I guess. But so I didn't have an issue with it, but Ray Davis did. And there's something, like you said, Jay, there's something going on in the locker room that's not normal. It doesn't feel like I told you guys I was a little concerned a few weeks ago. I think it was before they won at State, when JJ Weaver was talking about how the defense isn't having fun anymore, how he's always needing to crack jokes to get people, less tight. Ty Bryant, the freshman, said something about it, and it's like, oh boy. So, there's been some weird things that have popped up where even last year, I mean, I know it came out after the year, some of the things that Mark Stoops wasn't happy with how the team handled adversity, but I had never got the feeling talking to those guys that there was any beef in the building. I think that there was any quit in that team. I mean, obviously they went out and won the Governor's Cup. The bowl game was a really tough circumstance where you're playing an elite defense and you have nothing at quarterback really. And you're off. I mean, as bad as Scangarilla was, you didn't have your offense coordinator. So you're running a watered down offense that's already not very good. So whatever. But this year, yeah, it's definitely there's been some more quotes from players, from coaches that make you, turn your head than there were last year. And it's weird. I'm really, really curious to see how they come out and fight this weekend. Because if they don't have juice this weekend in this rivalry game that, they've dominated, I'm not saying if they don't win, but if they don't come out and at least compete and bring it for 4 quarters and give Louisville all they got and are chippy, without the penalties and stuff, then I'll be extra concerned. I'm already pretty concerned, but that would be the biggest red flag for me. If they come out in this game and lack juice, then there's something wrong. And I don't know what it is. That's what Mark Stoops gets paid to figure out. But there's definitely something weird with that has not really happened during the Stoops era going on in that building.
No doubt.
And look, Jalen, you've been a freshman, you've been a first-year college player, you've been a veteran college player who's been around the block. Ray has been around the block. He's a veteran guy. He's been at different places. Has he been at different places because of friction, or has he just moved on to better opportunities? Whatever. He's been around. And so to maybe see a momentary, lapse of maturity or not handling it right after you've been around was a little surprising to me. Jalen Milroe, he kind of got ticked off about his situation, lost his job, the whole South Florida game where it got a little weird down there. He got it back together, took it, and we've seen the progression. We've seen, okay, you had to kind of learn from it and go forward. And he's a younger guy too. And he's a quarterback. So even more of a spotlight. You know about that, Jalen. So to me, to see that from Ray was surprising. Then the tweet, like y'all said, is a little weird, especially from him who's been around the block. You run for 1,000 yards at 3 different schools, about to be 4, or whatever. You 10 yards away from 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
as crazy as it's been this year. So he knows how this works. I'm just surprised that he kind of got his back up about the situation. And I hate to keep singling him out, but it was really weird.
I'll let you get there, get your point, but I just want to say, if you don't want to signal him out, Dane Key's family is tweeting during the game. The Keaton Wade's mom has been tweeting stuff throughout the season. It's not – there's just a lot of weird stuff going on. Sorry, just wanted to make sure we weren't signaling him out.
I guess I'm out of the loop on the tweets. What was the tweet? And I know he deleted it, but what?
Man, hold on. I'll
pull it up to y'all. He said, I thought I was the bell cow.
I thought I was the bell cow.
That's what it is about him not getting a lot of carries.
12 carries.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, you have a better eye. Is he missing holes? That's what Mark Stoops said he's doing.
Like I said, man, and I didn't know about the whole Dane Key tweet and thing. Look, the guy that sticks out to me the most about there's something different is Dane Key.
Yeah.
From the start to now. I don't know what it is. His play hasn't been the same. His energy hasn't been the same. The coaches said something about it in the media. When the coaches say something about it in the media, then it really has been a problem, even though they try to say it in a positive light. So I don't know what's up with that, man. Again, this could not be it, but it could. We look across the college football landscape and we see what's going on with Angel Reese. I mean, come on, me and my brother sat here and talked about this a couple years ago when this thing started to go down. It was like, all right, if this is the way college football is going to go, this is what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. At the end of the day, we're still dealing with 17, but some 17, but 18.
Young adults, very young adults.
Yeah, 20, 21, even 22, 23-year-olds with a lot going on. Full-time students, extra full-time athletes, and also they're trying to make money. And there's a prominent program that you guys know about where their quarterback is late to meetings because he's shooting commercials and he's doing this and doing that in the SEC. And it's the reason why their season isn't going the way it is. They wanted to go this year as well. So, look, we don't know exactly what's going on. However, it's glaring that something is. So, again, it's not our job to figure it out. That's Coach Stoops' job. I'm sure he'll get to the bottom of it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. Culture gets challenged when you start putting a lot of this other stuff in the mix. So you see some coaches bowing out of this college thing, man. What's his name? From Villanova. Coach bowed out.
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright got up out of there, man. At the height of his career. He's coaching the best he's ever coached, and he's bowing out. You got coaches who are struggling during this time because you're dealing with a different human being. And we can say whatever we want to say. There are some people out there who will call me, whatever, for saying this type of stuff. But it is what it is. We see it. We're not stupid. We see it. It's not the same. A lot of people are more self-consumed now. You're dealing with a lot of young athletes, which I understand, man. You're 19, 20 years old with, a lot of money and opportunity in front of your face. A lot of people who knows what they're direct messages look like. So you're dealing with a lot of self-consumed young athletes. That's hard to get them to be a part of a team. The Nick Sabans, the Kirby Smarts of the world, these guys are different than everybody else. Call it what it is. They are. So some, like I said, it's definitely visible. And we'll see how this thing kind of plays out. But, it's really not looking great. We've seen how Jimbo Fisher got caught into it. I mean, it's not looking good, and I'm talking about big picture of college athletics. It's not looking good. Even the guy, what's the coach who got on there today and said something about it? Somebody got on today. I saw a college football coach that said, because Utah got a quarterback coming back for a 7th year.
Luke Fickell said it.
Yeah, Luke Fickell. He was like, "Is this really what?" Like, what are we doing? Like, is. I know what we're doing. It's a money game. But college football is looking bad. Just stop calling it college football. If we're gonna do it, stop calling it college football. Call it something else, because it's not what it was. Yes, it's college football, but it's not the same game. It's not the same thing as what it was, and it's only getting worse, in my opinion. I know a lot of coaches, fortunately, college, high school, and some pro, and they all echo the same sentiment. It's just we're dealing with a different beast now. It's harder to get these guys on one accord, on one, fight for one thing, because there's so much other stuff. So yes, that's probably part of the issue in the building at Kentucky right now. But who knows what else it is, but we know that is. And I hate to see it because I'm a purist in a lot of ways, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, interesting. So, like you said, all that, and got a 10-1 Louisville team waiting on you Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it's it's brutal, man. It's brutal, and again, we'll see how they come out. That's the big thing to me. I mean, obviously, you want to win this game. It would be not only big for this individual group, but the program to show, hey, we could still, we still at least have this going where, this is our state. We still have the better program at the moment, but, Louisville's got a lot to play for. Their college football playoff hopes are still hanging there. They're rolling right now. I know. Look, I think we all know, and I think even I think even a realistic Louisville fan would admit they have benefited from a pretty light schedule. They have had some close calls and even lost a game against the team they probably shouldn't be having close calls with and losing to if they're really this elite college football team. But at the end of the day, they win one-score games. I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's like a good 4 or 5, maybe even more one-score games. They close games out in the fourth quarter. They find ways to win, and that's what Kentucky did for so long, and they're not doing this year is find ways to win. I put out that stat earlier this week where from 2016 to 2021, Kentucky was 21-8 when going into the fourth quarter, whether that be winning or losing in a one-possession game or tied. Since then, the last 2 years, they're 1-5, the only win being against Mississippi State last season. So they don't do very well in these one-score games in crunch time, where Louisville has done excellent in those spots, especially just the last 2 weeks. The Virginia game got dicey. Unfortunately, he had a very serious injury on the Virginia side that I think might have sucked the air out of that side of the sideline there with the Cavs. But still, Louisville found a way to finish that one off and get a win. And then last week at Miami, a game where their defense kind of had a uncharacteristically bad game, they were able to make the plays at the end of the game. They get a goal line stop. And, they get it done. So you got to just tip your cap to a team that finds ways to win. So this is going to be a very tough game. It's a Louisville team that now that Jeff Brom is there is going to understand what's at stake. I'm not sure they ever did with Scott Satterfield. He's a Carolina guy. Petrino definitely had him ready to play that game, but I don't think Scott Satterfield ever did. I definitely think Jeff Brom will. He cleaned up that rivalry game. Again, I know Indiana's Indiana, but even some of the years where Indiana was decent, Purdue pretty much had him beat every time he was there, if I remember correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
Louisville's going to be ready to play. They've got a lot to play for, and Kentucky's got to just match that intensity, man. If you go out there and give a puncher's chance and at least, make it where anything could happen in that fourth quarter, I'm not obviously fans are going to be pissed off if they lose, but I think there will be at least some, this time we go up against the top 10 team that we know, getting blown out by Georgia and Alabama is one thing. This Louisville team, yes, they're top 10. They're not really a top 10 roster. If you go out there and you battle to the end, you could at least hang your hat on this team didn't quit on Coach Stoops. They still care about each other. And, we'll see who's left for that bowl game and if they can go out and fight and, finish above 500. But the worst thing I think that could happen here is Louisville comes out all sorts of fired up and Kentucky just rolls over. We've seen Louisville do that in this game. If Kentucky ends up being the one to do that, if you thought Twitter was bad after the Carolina game, you might want to delete the app for a few days after Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Louisville, and this is gonna hurt some people's feelings, but Louisville has the better team. Kentucky
right now,
Kentucky has the better talent, though.
Yep.
Kentucky has better dudes, but Louisville has the better team as a collective right now, and it shows. Anytime you got a team that's winning games late in the fourth quarter that way, winning one possession games, game-winning drives, that's a team.
Yep.
And you cannot deny that Jeff Brom, in my opinion, is a top 15 coach in the country.
Mm-hmm.
What he did at Purdue, which his roster was nowhere in the same league as Ohio State and some of those teams. But how many years did he spend in the Big Ten championship game? I mean, he had a few, right? 3?
Only one, but he got close a couple other times. They had quite a few winning seasons during his time there. And
I thought he got there at least twice, maybe.
I'll get it for you right now.
Yeah,
go on there.
But besides that, this is a really, really good team. Like I said, if Kentucky can make this thing about mano a mano, and they're playing with great effort, I think Kentucky pull this thing out. If Kentucky scores 30, 31 points, they win. I believe that. So, like I said, they got the better players. Guys like Deion Walker can change the game in the middle of the football field, in the core of the football field where everything matters. He can change the game. So they got the better players, man. So,
well, he was 7-6, 6-7,
one division
4-8, 2-4. His last 2 years, he went 9-4 and 8-5.
Yeah, they beat Tennessee in that wild Music City Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Won 2 bowl games, won a division title last year. I mean, for Purdue, that's a pretty damn good run.
13-13, 17-21, 19-25. 19-25 at Purdue before these last 2 years.
Yeah.
Still hard to do.
That's
even hard to do at that place, man. It's
always
one of the worst Power 5 jobs in the country.
Put the recruiting. Where was Purdue average in recruiting rankings, as opposed to where were they finishing up at the end of the season? They always outperformed their talent. They're always overachieved. So that's my judge on coaching. That's why I think Mark Stoops is such a good coach. He had years where they always performed well as a team, back when the recruiting wasn't where it is now. Mm-hmm. So that's my judge on the coach. Like, that's why I say Jeff Brom, and I think the guy at Utah, the coach at Washington, these are absolute fantastic coaches. The guy at Kansas, these are great coaches because their recruiting rankings don't match up with their winning percentage. Mm-hmm. They win a lot more games than what their recruiting rankings say they should win. In my opinion, that's a great talent developer. That's a great talent identifier, and that's a great coach. So I think he's a fantastic coach. I mean, anytime you can be, somewhat in the game with Michigan in the Big Ten championship game, when you're coaching at Purdue, you're doing a hell of a job. So, that's the thing. It's going to be, I love and I say this because there's going to be a chess match between Kentucky's defense and his offense. I mean, Jeff Brom is an offensive dude to the core. Mm-hmm. Quarterback, offensive coordinator, head coach. He's an offensive dude to the core. And you got a really great defensive scheme at Kentucky and really good players in spots at Kentucky. I think in the interior defense, right, your Mike linebacker, your nose tackle are outstanding football players, Sunday guys. And you got Braun, who has a good quarterback, solid receivers, and a really, really, really good scheme and a good team. So I like that matchup. You know, I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. And I told you guys a couple weeks ago I could not wait to this game because I think now Louisville has a really good coach who knows what it takes in these games. And you still got Kentucky with good players and good coaches. That's going to make this rivalry a little bit more exciting. So that's why I said that. So, you know, I'm anxious to see what happens. I think, like I said, a Kentucky offense can put up 30 points, 31 points, they win the game, in my opinion.
So we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. I was all set to pick Kentucky in this one, if I'm being honest, until the Carolina game. I really was, because I agree with you 100%, Jalen, where I still think Kentucky is the more talented team. I know Louisville is they're probably the better coach team this season, at least. They have what they're doing schematically is working, especially on defense. They have some playmakers at wide receiver and running back. I'm not in love with the quarterback play this year there. I don't think Louisville fans are either, but still, I was all set to pick Kentucky because I truly believe they're going to get up for I still think they will get up for this game, and the talent thing. But man, that was just they got to prove they can get off the mat because that was demoralizing last weekend.
And you talk about Louisville's schedule, and
so
it still falls their way. Not that they're going to be looking ahead. I doubt Brown's going to have them looking ahead or allow them to look ahead. But they get Florida State next week without Jordan Travis, so it still works out.
That one's crazy, isn't it?
Now this backup, I mean, he's shown he got an arm, he got some talent, but he's green, and he gets Florida, and then he gets Louisville.
Yeah, and they create havoc on defense. Man.
Yeah, so
yeah, and even if you want to even look ahead further than that, they do pick up Clemson next year in ACC play, but no Florida State again. Austin Peay, Jacksonville State, Notre Dame, Kentucky, Boston College, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami, Pitt, SMU, Stanford, Virginia. Like that is like, are you kidding me?
Well, we already know based on what happened this past summer, they're gonna be favored in all 12 games again.
And maybe they were right. Maybe Vegas was right and we were just wrong because they might end up really finishing 11-1.
That's true. Crazy
for that. I mean, you got to tip your cap, but at the same time, there is context. And like I saw people complaining about how Missouri is a spot ahead of them in the playoff rankings. And, you know, obviously I get it because Missouri's a 2-loss team, but you just look at Missouri and their resume and the fact the Georgia game, that was probably Georgia's biggest sweat of the year, I would say. That was
the past 2 years.
Yeah, past 2 years, especially to go into Athens and really play with them. And then LSU, they just let them off the hook. I mean, they had that game won. They scored 39 points, but they let them off the hook. And then
shout out to Denny Green. We had let off the hook.
Yeah, exactly. They kicked Kentucky's butt late in that game. Got a win on the road. They kicked Tennessee's ass. They had a really nice win at home against Florida. They beat Kansas State when they were ranked in the top 15. Like they have a pretty darn good resume. That's better than Louisville's.
No doubt.
So I think we hit everything football wise.
Yeah, and just get ready. Portal season's going to be. I don't have specific names for you yet, but I know as far as going after guys, the wide receiver that entered from Texas A&M, Raymond Cottrell. I think he'll be visiting UK at some point, so that might be an early name as a target to watch. But there are going to be a lot of guys entering. That's just the way it is. I don't know how big of names we're going to see from this Kentucky team leave, but it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot this next month to hold you over until they tow it up again one more time at the end of next month. Probably it looks like in Charlotte at this point.
I'll say this every portal season, man. I am ecstatic that I am not a college football head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean,
I can't imagine.
The money is great, man, but dang, dude, he's spending most of his time right now make sure he retain his players.
Yeah. You got to recruit three look, you're this month of December, and now they've tried to make the portal isn't officially open till the 4th, but guys are going to still come out and announce their intentions. I think last year, like Magwood and Chris Lewis announced like 2 days after the Louisville game, whatever. But but you have to recruit, like you said, your own team. You got to recruit free agents essentially from all the FCS and all the other FBS teams and whatever, and then you got to finish off your high school class. Like and if you're Kentucky and a little less than half the country, you got to prepare for game 13. It's just it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west, man. And like I said, the most annoying part for a coach is probably he has to overly recruit his own roster. I mean, that has to be, because that other teams are finding a way to contact your players, and they'll do that, and that's going on. To be honest with you, there's going to be a couple one that I think for sure, maybe 2 names enter the portal that Kentucky fans probably don't want to see enter the portal.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, and that's the life. That's the life. The life we live nowadays, right?
Yeah, that is what it is, man. It really is what it is.
Yeah. So, basketball. We come off Kansas and got a couple of smaller type opponents before you get Miami coming in, and still waiting for the bigs. Still liking the style of play. Still, get the bigs up to speed, and if they're healthy, they should be able to play this way because they're fast and athletic.
Yeah, at least
and versatile.
Z and Bradshaw for sure.
Right. Ugo is more defensive, rim protector.
Yeah.
Now he's working on all that. We've seen him. We've seen clips of him shooting and trying to do that. We'll see. But Kansas got blasted by Marquette last night. They beat Tennessee today. Your organization, the Cat's Paws, just retweeted Samuel L. Jackson talking about Hunter Dickinson flopping. So y'all look up the Cat's Paws on that. And he's one of those dudes that if he's on your squad, you like him, but he annoys you if he's on the other team. He was doing the same stuff. He was falling all over the floor last night, against Marquette, and then looking up like, why didn't I get a call? That kind of thing. But
reality is every team has one of those guys. Who just,
Joakim Noah back in the day for Florida. My Rockets got Dylan Brooks now, who was with Memphis.
We've seen Uros Placevic the last 4 years or 10 years, however you want to state it. But look, I mean, basketball-wise, I think it was kind of weird Monday night where it was an overtime game, but the defense is an issue, and it's not just the rim protection. I mean, they're getting beat by guards all the time. So there definitely has to be some stuff to be cleaned up defensively. I didn't think Reed Shepherd's been so good all year. Still, the steal numbers were really good, but he got beat just on one-on-ones, at times in that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good defensive game for Kentucky.
They ISO'd him up on the block a little bit.
And they made some hero shots, St. Joe's did. But there were still some where it's like, come on, man, you gotta defend that. So, but offensively, like you said, the style of play worked. They scored, I know it was overtime, but they scored 94, 96, whatever it was.
And 86 in regulation, right? Is that what it is? 84?
So they're still on pace. This would be their highest scoring season since the 89-90, which was that Pitino by then?
That's his first year.
Right. So
and it was literally, there were t-shirts, everything, Patinos, Bombinos, everybody just bomb threes. And this was way before his time. This is the 80s.
Yeah, 89-90. Yeah.
Like the 3-point line just became a thing.
Right.
And you got coaches that, some still don't really care for it, but really back then, oh God, no, and he was just like there like, hey guys, green light, chuck it up, Derek Miller, who played for that team, and they went 14-14, but he just missed, if you look up Big Blue history, guys that have highest shooting percentage, minimum 100 shots, he would be there, but he only took 99 threes that year. So, but this is like 80s and nobody was subscribing to it. It'd be like putting the passing offenses back in the 60s when you got the Green Bay Packers and the sweep and 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and you got a team just throwing the ball over the yard, which, the dude for San Diego, Eric Coryell and all that, eventually did happen. But how unorthodox that would be, they throw it 52 times a game when it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's kind of what Patino was doing, shooting all these threes back when it was, throw the ball to the big guy. The point guards never shot unless they were absolutely open. That's how it was back then. It was everything predicated on the bigs. Yeah. And Patino kind of flipped that on his head. Man.
Somebody got to change, right?
Yo. And then before you know it, imitation is a sincere form of flattery. Stuff starts getting copied and duplicated and imitated, right. And then it's just common. Everybody's doing it. Yeah.
Yes, but again, so it wasn't like I thought, they stunk, and that's why the game went to overtime. I think St. Joe's played a really good game, but if they make one more free throw at the end of that game, St. Joe's wins, and we're having a different discussion, right? So it was good for this team to get an early overtime game, experience that, find a way to win. That can't hurt in the long run now that you got it as a W. But you definitely want to have a cleaner game from Jump Street against Marshall here on Friday. They've had some slow starts to really – pretty much every game. I know they've fallen behind the last 4, so by at least 2 buckets. So, you want to try to get off to a little bit of a hotter start. It was good to get DJ Wagner going a little bit in this one. I thought Justin Edwards played a little bit better too. So some good things, some bad things, but that's early season basketball. And you got one more, we talked about what game? A&M Commerce game being a tune-up for Kansas. This game against Marshall Friday. Marshall's not – they had a good year, really good year last year. They won 24-8, but their 2 best players, one of them is in the G League, the other transferred to Mississippi State. They are not having a good year so far. They've lost 3 games, Radford, Oakland, and another one in there, not a big name that they lost to. So you got to go out there, take advantage, get a comfortable win, and then you got a really, really good test with Miami. I know it's not the brand name, it's not the Duke, North Carolina people wanted in this debut ACC challenge, but Miami's coming off a trip to the Final Four. Most of those pieces are still intact, very similar style where they've got guards for days, but they also have an enforcer that Kentucky doesn't have. So big non-conference game at home. That should be a lot of fun, and you got to take care of business first and kind of build some confidence. I think it would be nice to have a comfortable one Friday. I know that the overtime thing was probably good for them in the long run, but back to back, I don't think they need to do
that. Yeah. I agree with that. Try to beat Marshall like you should. Beat them like you're supposed to. Hopefully
Absolutely.
That's what happened.
Yeah, there's no reason not to. This isn't like nothing against Marshall. They're just not. They lost their 2 best players by far and away from last year. I mean, that Taylor kid that transferred to State averaged 20 points a game last year, something crazy. And they won 24-8, and they would have been in the tournament if they didn't. They lost in the Sun Belt tournament. If they'd won the Sun Belt, that's a one big league. But I think they were in the NIT, maybe. So they're coming off a strong year. D'Antoni's brother, Dan D'Antoni, the head coach. But they've lost to Radford. They've lost to Oakland, and I'm giving you the 3rd loss right here. They lost to Utah State. So, they're not having a good year. You got to take advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anything else y'all want to add before we?
No, I mean, I was just saying, selfishly, I'm glad that game was as good as it was on Monday, man, because I had 2 kids, 2 young men that I coached this past year who were seniors that are going to Kentucky next year. As students, and one of them is a photographer. So, that's why I reached out to you about that, Aaron. I got in touch with Evan, and was able to kind of help him get on the court so he can do his photography thing. And his pictures came out absolutely excellent.
I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate Evan for that, and I'm sure those 2 kids enjoyed the hell out of that, man.
Oh yeah.
You don't get a lot of opportunities to do that type of stuff, especially as high school kids, and they got a chance to be on the floor, man, and do that. So that was cool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And gotta send out good thoughts to my guy, our guy, Freddie Maggard. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody saw or heard. He wrote an article for On3 and KSR about some things he'd been going through, just as far as you know, motor skills, kind of losing them, and kind of been struggling with it for a long time, and uh, on shows and podcasts, and kind of would lose his thought, and people started to notice, and he was embarrassed, and the pressure to try to be the same insightful dude that he's been, and he just wasn't able to do it. So if you read his article, basically it's the okay not to be okay, and he's trying to, attack it. A lot of therapy and everything he's going through. So if you haven't read it, take a few minutes and read that, and you'll see what he's been dealing with for several years. But this dude from my hometown, and like I've said it many times, the dudes that were those dudes in my era, because I'm about 8 or 9 years younger than Freddie, but those dudes still look up to Freddie and were influenced and impacted by him. That's just how much weight he carried in our community. Said he thought the word of my dad. I looked up at my dad's memorial service, walked in, and there Freddie is. It doesn't come from Lexington to, my dad's funeral. And he's just as humble as he can be to affect people that much, and then be as humble as he is about no big head, no cocky bone in his body. And just want to send out good thoughts to him, and hope he continues to keep working, try to get better.
Yeah, that was a tough read, and I'm glad he shared it. Those things are important to share if you can, and also obviously Dick Gabriel too. He's on the mend. He's back home. We were texting during the Carolina game Saturday. He's feeling better for sure. He was frustrated like we all were. And then Lonnie Demery too had a fall a couple of weeks ago. Man, I talked to his daughter to check in. I think last week, and he's on the mend as well. So it's been a little bit of a tough couple of weeks for the UK beat over here. But yeah, that was pretty powerful stuff from Freddie. I'm glad he had the courage and the the want to share that with the people.
And I watch all the press conferences just like Jalen, and half of them you're right there in Jeff. I usually watch Jeff Drummond's. And you're right there in screen. And Lonnie will be right there beside of you, or
that's right.
Stoops' Monday press conference. There'll be some funny interaction with Lonnie. He might not understand the question. Lonnie say, "What is that again, Lonnie? Repeat that again." Something.
It never fails.
I've just I don't know him like you. Like I passed the word, here and there when I've been able to cover games. I don't cover every game like you do, but been in the press box and just kind of said hey to him, but. He's one of those pillars that's been around forever, like a Dick Gabriel, like a Larry Vaught, like before them, Oscar Combs, who was there for years and years and years. And so,
Larry Vaught.
So there you go.
Hey man, I miss seeing those dudes, man. Even Tony Neely, who does that. Tony's a good dude, man.
He's a good dude. As nice a guy as you're gonna be.
Yeah, you can't meet nobody nicer than that. But yeah, I remember all those dudes, man. And So shout out to them, man.
For sure, man. Well, fellas, we enjoyed this, man. Y'all enjoy the weekend for the short week. If you get some time off, whatever, you get to catch your breath for a minute. You won't. So yeah. Enjoy the dinner or wherever you got to be, the people you get to see, the things you got to do, and we appreciate all your coverage. Basketball and football. Y'all check them out on the Cat's Paws. Check Jalen out. The man writes books. The man coaches kids. The man's a 2-time author. So y'all continue to do great things, and appreciate everybody takes the time to listen right here and check it out here at Believe.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Sea of Blue. Everywhere you get your podcast, you can watch it or check it out. And we'll be looking forward to next week. Win or lose, we'll be here talking about it all on Believe in Kentucky. So for Jalen and Aaron, this is Vinny Hardy. We'll be back next week. Everybody be safe. Enjoy yourself. We'll holler at y'all next time.